welcome. You're watching the NewsX Vikas Report and I'm Megha Sharma. In the last 3 days, we have gotten you on your television screens the ground realities from the length and the breadth of the country, from roads to homes to toilets, and how the benefits of various schemes and the yojanas of the central government have reached the last mile. In today's episode number 6, I bring to you the insurance game changer. Yes, the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana, the world's largest health insurance scheme that is fully capable by the government, that is fully funded by the government. How has it changed the lives of the poorest of the poor in our country? Team NewsX actually got you the ground reports to find out how people have benefited from this scheme. Let's take a look at the first ground report. This has been filed from Gandhinagar in Jammu from a hospital. My colleague Ajay Chandiyal brings you this report.
Now we have reached in a ward of a government Gandhinagar hospital where hundreds of patients are coming on the daily basis to get treatment, and how this scheme PMJY has changed their life and how it is helping the people. We'll try to show you. Yes, I would like to show you this file, and you could see that earlier what was happening, that the patient who was admitted over here, they was bearing all the expenses of medicine, surgeries and other things, but now after PMJY scheme, this all treatment is happening free of cost, including the medicine or any major surgery.
ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस है। इस वक्त तो इसका ऑपरेशन हुआ था गॉल ब्लैडर स्टोन्स के लिए, और ये केट एमरजेंसी में आया था गॉल ब्लैडर एक्यूट कोलिसिस्टाइटिस करके। उसके बाद डिटेक्ट हुआ कि इसे गॉल ब्लैडर स्टोन्स थे। इसको अर्जेंटली आयुष्मान भारत जन आरोग्य योजना के तहत फ्री सर्जरी लेप्रोस्कोपी कोलिसिस्टेक्टमी हमारे सर्जन लेप्रोस्कोपी सर डॉक्टर गगन बाली ने ऑपरेट किया। कल ही ऑपरेट हुआ है ये पेशेंट। रोज़ाना कम से कम हमारे पास 15-20 पेशेंट डेली हमारे पास इस स्कीम के तहत आते हैं। और एक और बात मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि कई बार पिछले जब से मैंने ज्वाइन किया है, मैंने 1-2 पेशेंट हमारे पास ऐसे भी आए जिनके पास कार्ड भी नहीं बना था, तो हमने हमारे आरोग्य मित्रा ने उनको कार्ड भी इमीडिएटली बना के दिए विदिन 5 to 6 आवर्स, और उनको हमें ये सुविधा भी प्रदान कर दी। तो ये कार्ड बनाने की सुविधा भी हमारे पास उपलब्ध है जिसके पेशेंट के पास कार्ड नहीं बना है। ऑल इंडोर पेशेंट्स को उनको जितने इंजेक्शंस लगते हैं ऑपरेशन के वक्त, जो धागे लगते हैं, जो कॉस्ट लगते हैं, जो मेडिसिन लगती हैं, जो इक्विपमेंट लगते हैं, जैसे नी सर्जरी में इम्प्लांट्स होते हैं, इम्प्लांट्स तक फ्री दिए जाते हैं। तो ये थ्रू दिस स्कीम खरीदे जाते हैं। हमारे जन आरोग्य मित्र इसको खरीदते हैं और हम पेशेंट्स को प्रोवाइड करते हैं। इसमें मोस्टली हर स्पेशलिटी की अलग अलग बीमारियां होती हैं। जैसे आपको बताया गॉल सर्जरी में गॉल ब्लैडर सर्जरी बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है। इसके अलावा अपेंडिसाइटिस या हर्निया की सर्जरी, हर्निया में एक जाली पड़ती है जिसको मैश कहते हैं, वो कॉस्टली होती है, वो भी इसके थ्रू होती है। इसकी तरह मेडिसिन में जो पेशेंट्स हमारे स्ट्रोक के आते हैं उनको थ्रोम्बोलिसिस करते हैं, जो इंडोर पेशेंट में उनको हम जो ट्रीटमेंट देते हैं उसको वो भी इसमें कवर होते हैं। ऑर्थो में जैसे आपको बताया कि नी रिप्लेसमेंट सर्जरी, फ्रैक्चर के बाद जो ऑपरेशन ओपन सर्जरी होती है उसमें हम बड़े इम्प्लांट्स डालने पड़ते हैं, वो भी हम फ्री करते हैं।
कोई गरीब आदमी हो तो कहाँ से पैसे लेगा। चलो ये आयुष्मान कार्ड बना हुआ था हमारा, तो उसके तहत हमारा फ्री ऑफ कास्ट दोनों ऑपरेशन हो गए।
कोई पैसा इसमें
नहीं, इसमें कोई पैसा
दवाइयाँ या बाकी
नहीं, कुछ नहीं लगा हमारा, जहाँ पे फ्री ऑफ कास्ट हुआ सारा कुछ।
लगता है अगर ये कार्ड नहीं बना होता या स्कीम नहीं होती तो फिर क्या होता?
फिर अरेंज करने पड़ते कहीं पैसे, और गरीब आदमी के लिए तो बड़ा मुश्किल है। फिर तो यही सोचता है कि कहाँ जाएंगे अब। चलो अगर कार्ड था हमारे पास तो हमें बड़ी फैसिलिटी मिली इससे।
लोगों को क्या कहना चाहेंगे?
इससे हम कहना चाहते हैं कि सबको बेनिफिट हो, जहाँ पे बड़ा अच्छा ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है, सारे लोग ये कार्ड बनाएं।
सीढ़ियों से गिर गया था तीसरी मंजिल से। तीसरी मंजिल पर जा रहा था, सुबह 4 बजे वो तार ठीक करने के लिए डिश की, तो रास्ते में एक स्टेप पहले ही मेरा पैर का अंगूठा एक मोच आ गई, उससे पूरी जान निकल गई और अनबैलेंस होकर नीचे गिर गया। दोनों टांगों में फ्रैक्चर हो गया है और मेन हड्डी जो है वो ब्रेकअप हो गई है। इसका सर्जरी होगी, 2-4 दिन पहले टेस्ट वगैरह होंगे कंप्लीट, तो उसके बाद आपकी सर्जरी होगी दोनों टांगों की, और जो आज हो चुकी है।
फिर जब ट्रीटमेंट हुआ आपका कितना खर्चा आया? क्या
कोई खर्च नहीं आया मेरे नोटिस में तो कोई खर्च नहीं आया। पूरा का पूरा आयुष्मान कार्ड देख रहा है।
आपने बनाया हुआ था कार्ड?
बिल्कुल। दवाइयाँ या कुछ? सब कुछ मिल रहा है उस कार्ड के आधार पर।
कितने कॉम्प्लिकेशन थी अगर ये बाहर जाते, तो गरीब आदमी के लिए लगता है कि वरदान है ये जो स्कीम है?
नहीं, डेफिनेटली वरदान ही है, इसी ने ही एविडेंस दिया ऐसी चीज़ का। इसकी दोनों ना लातों की हड्डियाँ ही टूट गई थी और काफ़ी मतलब बुरी तरह से चूरे ही आप कह लो, वो दोनों के, एक लात का तो बहुत ही ज़्यादा चूरा हुआ था। तो हमने साइमल्टेनियसली सिंगल डे में ही दोनों जो है लातों की सर्जरी की, दोनों में इसकी प्लेटिंग पड़ी है। तो अगर आप खर्चे की बात करोगे तो अगर हम हॉस्पिटल की बात करेंगे, कई बार पेशेंट्स को इम्प्लांट बाहर से भी लाना पड़ता है, तो 25 से 30 हज़ार रुपया मेडिसिन प्लस इम्प्लांट्स का इन गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल कहीं नहीं जाता। प्राइवेट की तो बात ही मत छोड़ो, ये सर्जरीज जो हैं हॉस्पिटल एडमिशन के साथ लाख से ऊपर पड़ती है इस पेशेंट को। पर इन जैसे पेशेंट्स और हर किसी के लिए ये बोन ही है, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से ये स्कीम है जिसमें पेशेंट की जो मर्ज़ी हो उसको प्रायोरिटी बेसिस पे बेस्ट ट्रीटमेंट जो कि पहले चल रहा था वैसे ही मिलेगा उसको। दवाइयाँ तक फ्री मिलेंगी, इवन जो डिस्चार्ज पे मेडिसिन होती हैं वो तक फ्री मिलेंगी। हॉस्पिटल एक बार उसकी फ़ाइल मिल गई, महंगी से महंगी इन्वेस्टिगेशन, एक्सरे, सीटी स्कैन, ब्लड टेस्ट, इवन एमआरआई वगैरह भी, आप महंगी से महंगी दवाइयाँ भी लिख सकते हो, तो वो सारी जो है आयुष्मान भारत के तहत कवर हो जाती है।
Every surgery, whether it is a orthopedic surgery, whether it is a gynae or the other problem, the people, those who are living in Jammu and Kashmir and part of the country, they are getting treated free of cost. This is the change what this Ayushman card, the golden card, has brought here in the Jammu and Kashmir. Vidyanaj Kumar, Ajay Jindal, NewsX, Jammu.
All right, so that was a small area in Gandhinagar in Jammu. Rishabh, I'm going to come to you now. The key takeaway, it's a boon, vardaan hai. Those who are struggling to make ends meet, those who are not able to get food but can get the health insurance, 5 lakh cashless insurance cover provided under the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana.
So why are we doing this series? Okay, now we are into the 6th telecast. We've done 5-hour telecasts already. Today's a marathon again, and we're going to be here late in the evening doing this. I think we're discussing railways after this. We're going to be discussing food security, TAPS, Har Ghar Jal Yojana after this. This is to understand that when we listen to the statistics and the speeches, is there even anecdotally a translation on the ground? Okay. Now, obviously, this is not comprehensive. We've gone to about 8-9 locations. We've spoken to maybe 30-40 people, of which we have distilled the reports and come to you. But overall, and you and I have heard the raw inputs as they've come in. Okay, overall, the anecdotal evidence on the ground is presenting that there is an ease of use. When we talk about ease of living, is it just a slogan for politics, or does it actually translate to the ground? So the ease of use. Now, why is this important? Why is this scheme important? In a country where the average income remains a couple of lakhs a year for a family, India has some of the cheapest medical facilities in the world. You want to do a ultrasound in the US, $3,000. In India, 1,500 rupees. No comparison. Okay, but even then, if a medical bill of 70,000, 80,000, 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh comes somebody's way, that can debilitate the finances of a family, put them into debt, create stress where the choice is between becoming okay and eating food for the rest of the family. So these are very hard choices. Now what you are seeing here is that this is not some loophole, red tape. You go there, if you don't have the card, you are automatically on the basis of your Aadhaar number eligible. The hospital or clinic will make the card for you. It is an online thing, you punch in your number, you get 5 lakhs per family per year, which renews every year. And everything is not that, oh, we only cover A, B, C, D. We cover everything. You want to get your tests done, the injection, the medicines, the treatment, the bed, everything is covered. So a person can go to hospital with that card and worry only about treatment and not what it's costing. And the hospital looks after it at the back end electronically. It is something to bring tears to your eyes. I was watching the raw feeds of this. Is so emotive. Look at these people. Okay, this is real India. And to actually somebody who's injured or hurt or is sick, and they can go to a hospital, they can get neat and clean treatment and not debilitate their family. It's very emotive. So the overall anecdotal evidence, Megha, from our report is that yes, these hospitals are reporting they're getting dozens of patients every day, and these are not big centers, these are small centers who are availing this scheme. So yeah, I won't say 100% brilliantly, perfectly done. There's no such thing, but we are on the right track.
You're on the right track, and anecdotal evidence, Yogendra Kapoor, Rishabh was very correctly mentioning, with the average income of about 1.5 lakh and 2 lakh per year, a large expense. For example, two of these patients were talking about, an expense of about between 1 lakh and 1.5 lakh for those surgeries to take place. There was a fracture that this man had encountered because he was going to work, he had fallen off the stairs, and he was debilitated. So for the next, entire month, he would not be able to work. Now, in that circumstance, it is clearly a boon for him to be provided with the service of the surgery, the fracture that has then going to take a prolonged period of time for him to get well, but he does not have to worry about the money that has to be spent for this complicated procedure.
Absolutely, Megha. I would definitely like to agree that it's a very well-intentioned scheme from the government. But at the same time, I would also like to point out that there are certain, negatives which I've been able to, bring about in my statistics, which I'd like to share, which I feel that reflects that there is a way to go. Now, in terms of percentage spent of GDP, it is less than 2% of the GDP that is spent on public health, services in India. If we look at advanced countries, the spend is between 5 to 10% of the GDP. So I feel that the government needs to really take care in terms of increasing the allocation of percentage to at least 3%. India already ranks 179 out of the 189 countries in public health spending system. You also need to understand that the scheme, it falls apart when we look at that the outpatient consultation is not covered in this scheme. Now, outpatient consultation basically means the person is having, something to consult with any of the doctors, and, he is not getting admitted in the hospital. Now, the fact is that the percentage of population in India, specifically among the poor, it is more, which requires outpatient consultation in comparison to the one who really require hospitalization. So my point is that the government has a way to go, and they need to look at all these areas if they want that the wholesome benefit of this scheme should be provided to the larger spectrum.
Absolutely. So, I also have with me Sunil Garg. Sunil, we heard it from the doctor's mouth itself. He says whether it is surgery, whether it is implants, treatment, medicines, after the medicines are provided, after the patient gets discharged, there are timely calls that are made by the doctors to ensure that the health and safety of the person is intact after the procedure that has been conducted. He said there are lakhs and lakhs of rupees that have to be spent particularly on these hernia, appendicitis, gallbladder, stone removal operations, and it is all taken care of by the hospital that is then empaneled by the central government for this Ayushman Bharat scheme.
Mera, it's a very good scheme and a flagship project of the Modi government. But as Yogendra ji said, there are so many shortcomings in the scheme. As first is that there is only 28,000 hospitals throughout the country empaneled. See, only 28,000 has come forward to adopt this scheme in such a big country. There should be lakhs of hospitals. And why they are not coming to this scheme? Because the rates provided by the government under these schemes are so less, but they are not happy with the scheme. They are not able to provide the necessary operation or the medicines or treatment on these rates, because these rates are so less. Number one. Number two, see the data. On the one hand, government has said that we are providing ration to 81 crore families, and the total budget allocation is around 2 lakh crore, 2 to 2.5 lakh crore. And providing healthcare to 50 crore people is just 10,000 a year. How it is possible? Government has spent 50,000 crore in 4 years. It means an average 12,500 crore. The budget allocation to this scheme is very less. Secondly, we have requested to the government of India so many times that in income tax, you have a 4% cess and education cess. And if we see the collection of tax is around 15 lakh crore, you are collecting 60,000 crore as a health and education cess. Please allocate at least 25,000 crore to the scheme. Then this scheme will go down the line. Everybody will be benefited because the admission
so
level.
this is phase one of the scheme. Yes, there are difficulties, there are complexities. In fact, I'm going to play out some more of these reports. And you rightfully pointed out that there are very few hospitals in a particular region that are catering thus far as per the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana scheme. And of course there are lacunae, they will be filled, but this is the step in the right direction. I'm going to come back to the economics and the mathematics and the statistics of it. I'm going to now play out the second ground report that has been filed by one of my reporters. This is in Jabalpur in Madhya Pradesh. Take a look. We are at the Patel Clinic and Diagnostic Centre, one of the several private hospitals empanelled by the government to provide medical treatment to the beneficiaries under the PM Jan Arogya Yojana.
केंद्र सरकार की कई योजनाएं हैं जिनका लाभ कहीं ना कहीं आम जनों को मिलता है। ऐसी ही एक योजना है आयुष्मान भारत योजना, जिसके जरिए न केवल जो गरीब तबका है या जो महंगे इलाज नहीं करवा पाता था उसको 5 लाख तक के कैशलेस इलाज की सुविधा मिलती है। और ऐसे लगातार कई मरीज जो है वो अगर बात की जाए तो जबलपुर में लगातार प्रतिदिन सैकड़ों मरीजों का इलाज इस योजना के जरिए होता है।
Heart specialist Dr. Pushparaj Patel duly endorses the Ayushman Bharat scheme. He is particularly happy about the swift online approvals his patients are able to get treated in timely fashion.
ये जो आयुष्मान भारत योजना सरकार ने चालू की, बहुत ही अच्छी योजना है। इससे पहले भी इस तरह की योजनाएं थी, बीपीएल और दीनदयाल योजना, लेकिन उसमें इतने ज़्यादा लोग लाभान्वित नहीं हो पाते थे। ये उन्हीं योजनाओं को आगे सरलीकरण कर दिया गया और उससे भी ज़्यादा लोगों को इसमें पात्र बनाया गया, तो और ज़्यादा लेवल पे पेशेंट्स को लाभ मिल पा रहा है। हॉस्पिटल्स भी ज़्यादा एम्पैनल्ड हो गए, जो हॉस्पिटल्स के लिए एक एम्पैनलमेंट का रास्ता था वो आसान बना दिए गए, तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हॉस्पिटल्स और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मरीज़ों को इसके अंतर्गत स्वास्थ्य लाभ मिल पा रहा है। और ख़ास करके जो देखा जा रहा है कि इमरजेंसी में बहुत सारी ऐसी बीमारियां रहती कि जो पहले जो योजनाएं थी उनमें प्री अप्रूवल लेना पड़ता था, भोपाल लेटर जाता था, जब वहाँ से परमिशन आती थी तब होता था, तो उसमें कई बार काफ़ी लंबा समय लग जाता था और बीमारी कई बार ऐसी गंभीर होती थी कि उसमें इतना समय नहीं मिल पाता था। लेकिन ये योजना ऑनलाइन है तो उसके द्वारा हम डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट करते हैं। खास करके इसमें एक ये भी प्रावधान है कि अगर इमरजेंसी है कुछ तो आप उसका इलाज करिए और बाद में डॉक्यूमेंट सबमिट कर दीजिए।
सर, आपके यहाँ किसका इलाज हुआ आयुष्मान से?
हमारे पिताजी का।
कैसा, क्या देखते हैं आप, कैसी योजना?
7 बजे तबीयत बिगड़ गई अचानक, पैसा तो हते ही नहीं, हम लेके आए थे, आयुष्मान पे दवाई हो गई हमारी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
तो अच्छी योजना है सरकार की?
जी जी, बहुत अच्छी।
मतलब आप लोगों से और कहेंगे कि इस योजना का लाभ आप आम लोग भी उठाएं?
हाँ जी सर, कहेंगे।
हाँ बिल्कुल। देखिए, इनके जो मरीज़ हैं उनकी तबीयत अचानक ख़राब हुई थी और उसके बाद चूँकि आयुष्मान कार्ड था तो तुरंत इलाज जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं अस्पताल में मिल पाया। सरकार की जो योजना है उसका लाभ कहीं ना कहीं हर तबके को मिल रहा है। कैमरामैन वीरेन के साथ राजेश कुमार विश्वकर्मा, इंडिया न्यूज़, जबलपुर।
Rishabh, this last comment that was made by the beneficiary, it brought his father to the hospital and he's gotten that cashless insurance under the scheme launched by the Prime Minister a few years ago. And इसे यहाँ पे हर तबके के लोगों को, जो छोटे तबके के लोगों को, उनको ये लाभ मिल रहा है. And the more important thing that the doctor also said was the previous schemes, if you compare them to the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana, were not able to cater to a larger number of people. And there was another big problem faced by the people, that during emergency cases, they were not able to get timely treatment, because first the letters would have to go to the central department wherever in the capital of the country, of the state, and then after the approvals were garnered, could the treatment be started?
You know, what should our goal be? Our goal should be a realization of universal basic health care. okay, which is affordable or free of cost. That's what our goal should be. How do we get to the goal? Now, have we tried this in the past? Most of these fancy hospitals, Megha, that you and I would visit in Delhi, I'm sure that Yogendra ji goes to, Sunil ji goes to, all these fancy hospitals are built generally on free of cost or very low cost land in return for providing beds to economically weaker sections. All those beds are generally empty. Okay, so let me put this, I'm not an expert like our guests are. I'm just an ordinary journalist. I, however, have health insurance. I'm sure Sunil Garg ji also has health insurance, which he is paying for his family. It will be roughly the same, 5 lakh rupees per person is very standard. I have from United India Insurance and HDFC Ergo 2 schemes covering my health insurance. One covers 12,000 hospitals, one covers 6,000 hospitals, and I pay thousands per year. Now, if Garg ji is saying that why doesn't my health insurance not cover 2 lakh hospitals, 3 lakh hospitals, I don't know, HDFC, a very big company, is one of the biggest. United India Insurance is a public sector insurance company. Why don't they cover 2 lakh hospitals, 3 lakh hospitals? They should, but they don't. So, if this scheme is covering 29,000 hospitals when our own private sector schemes don't cover the same number of hospitals, it's a reality check. The other schemes of providing EWS beds, why are they not working? So, the question is not that have we reached the goal? Obviously, we have not reached the goal. We are not even close. But are we heading in the right direction where bureaucracy and red tape was the biggest problem, that the government announces a well-intentioned, probably well thought out scheme. It won't be the first time, but then they'll say, okay, you don't have the card, sorry. Oh, you're not qualified, sorry. Oh, it'll take 3 days to get your approval, and you had an accident, you're bleeding in the hospital floor. All of this has been thrown out of the window, and the overwhelming case study, anecdotal, no doubt, okay. And nobody suggesting here that this is overwhelming and in cent percent, but that's the goal. So if we are, we always want better. Obviously, there's no perfection, but we have to judge it by certain standard. If my health insurance, which I pay thousands of rupees a year to a private insurance player or a public insurance player, doesn't cover that many hospitals, yes, the more hospitals should join, but at least they're getting paid something. Yes, the rate should be revised, the MSP rate should be revised. Minimum wage rate should be revised. Lots of things need to be improved, but are we heading in the right direction? I think that should be a bit of a litmus card test, not just all the complaints we have on why everything is a failure.
Okay, all right. Dr. Deep Goyal, I'm going to come to you. We heard the ground reports, the case studies. Why do you think it took governments after governments to then finally come to a conclusion that a model plan needs to be brought out to remove all these complications and complexities? I mean, the very fact that if there is an emergency, a health emergency, and if there is going to be the beneficiary, he will have to first, his relatives will first have to get approvals from the central government or wherever they have to get approvals from, and only then can the hospital admit them and treat them. Well, that's a very blatant, in your face problem that should have been figured out in the BPL Yojana or the Deen Dayal Yojanas that have been launched previously.
You see, first of all, let's understand, when a poor man in a village wants to go for a treatment, how does he get money? He sells his property, he sells his land, or he takes money from the Mahajan on a high interest rate, which he knows that in a year's time he will be on the road. So it requires an immense political will to do what has been done. So it's a game changer scheme. It is the largest scheme in the world, the largest democracy. Nobody else has replicated this kind of scheme anywhere else in the world, even in America or United Kingdom. Obviously, when this kind of scheme is being launched, there are going to be teething problems, and we must be prepared to tackle them. And as you very rightly said, that this is a step in the right direction. This is only the phase one. And obviously there are a lot of complaints, a lot of discrimination. One which I can think of is that a lot of people who do not deserve these schemes in the first phase have the cards, because they get these cards made. Also, as somebody was saying, that why there are so many more hospitals in this scheme as compared to HDFC or any other private insurance. The reason is because the smaller hospitals in the tier 3 cities or in the rural area do not qualify as far as the quality standards are concerned for these larger banks insurance schemes. However, since we are catering to large number of rural population, smaller nursing homes which were already existing and they were dying, believe you me, they have been revived by Ayushman scheme.
Okay. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yogendra, coming to you now. Moving ahead, there are these problems, complexities. We've discussed about difficulties. We've seen these ground reports. There are people who are happy about this, and perhaps for the first time in their lives, they are able to save their lives and the lives of their loved ones. Perhaps that is a luxury that they are. It's actually, the right to health is a fundamental right, but it is more of a luxury for the poorest of the poor.
We need to very much understand that a healthy India is a productive India. The point is, if we have unhealthy population, then ultimately it is only going to affect the productivity in our economy. We already have the largest demographic dividend in the form of largest number of youth in the world, and it's very necessary that we have to keep everyone in good shape, because ultimately that is only the factor which will bring about a change in our GDP as well. So I think there has to be a wholesome, rethinking on the part of the government, because there is one more statistic that I would like to share, that as of now, in terms of public health system, we have 8 doctors for a population of 1 lakh people. Now imagine and compare it with a small country like Cuba, which has 842 doctors for a population of 1 lakh people. So my point is that there has to be a complete revamping and thought process in the minds of the political parties also, I mean the ruling party, the bureaucracy, and the PPP model as well as the private sector, wherein everyone will have to work together as a cohesive force in case we want to bring about a betterment in the society.
Sunil, coming to you, this is a small town, Jabalpur. This is in Madhya Pradesh. We had taken a look at a lot of people coming out, a lot of beneficiaries. These clinics and these hospitals and these health centers are full of people at any given point of time. Obviously, there are short of staff, there are short of doctors, but like we said, step in the right direction. How can more progress be made?
Mehta, as I said earlier, it's a very good scheme, in the right direction, no doubt about it. But to cover the 50 crore people, what I have said, the budget allocation should be more, because we have to bring more doctors, more hospitals on the board itself. Because in metropolitan cities or in big cities, no good hospitals are coming on the board. This is the mute question that has to be taken care of. Ultimately, those who are living in the big cities like Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, and they are urban poor, they have to go to these hospitals only. And please understand, if there is a cardiac arrest, the cost of medicine and cost of stent and cost of treatment is same for a rich people or for a poor people. There is no difference between it. So we are on the right direction, right path. But of course, what I am requesting from this channel through your medium, that the budget allocation should be proper for this scheme. And secondly, there are so many state government who are not on board yet. They are running their own scheme. All the schemes should be merged. The central government has to take a step in consultation with the various state government. There should be a unified scheme so that more and more people should be covered under this scheme, because a healthy India is a wealthy India, is a prosperous India. As you can
all right. Rishabh wants to make a point on this matter.
It's just understanding scale in perspective, okay? The National Health Service, NHS, in the UK, which is the definition of universal health coverage. Anybody can go to hospital for any operation, for an eye operation, scheduled, pre-scheduled emergency operation, and it can be done and is done free of cost. Okay? How many people do they cater to? 5 crore, 50 million. Okay? What is happening right now? The nurses and doctors are on strike, which Rishi Sunak is dealing with. 10 crore is what Obamacare was supposed to have covered. All right? I just want anybody watching this broadcast just to Google what it costs to get an operation done in the US. And politically, it was impossible to do. Trump came, withdrew it. Biden has been there for 2 years, still can't figure it out. Okay? So in developed, rich countries where you think money is no problem, they can't afford it, they can't figure it out, and they can't politically agree to it. So coming to a country like India, where we have to agree on the precept is I should be able to get treatment done without bankrupting and going into debt my entire family for generation. Megha, there are houses in this country where people decide it's better to let someone suffer or even die, because otherwise the family for generations will be in penury. These decisions, which hopefully you and I never have to make, are made by poor families in this country, and that is heartbreaking. So have we figured it out? Absolutely no. But are we heading in the right direction? Right direction means eligibility criteria was crazy. If you just keep calculating how much amdani you make, whether you fall below BPL, first you get BPL card, then you get this card. Now it's based on Aadhaar system. For the people who are eligible, you are already on the eligible list. There might be some anomalies that are pointed out. Some people who can afford it should not be in the eligibility criteria. Maybe that can be looked at. But the Aadhaar makes it far more transparent to figure it out, because your biometric data, everything is there. It becomes far difficult to forge the cards as well under somebody else's name. Do we need universal coverage? Should every single hospital? Yeah, but if you look at it, are the biggest and the richest of hospitals enrolling themselves? No, because they are too busy fleecing you and me. You try to do a hospital coverage and you try coming out without having spent a few lakhs. Okay, whether you have insurance or don't have insurance. It's impossible. So while in the urban areas, some of the biggest chains, okay, and some of these doctors are well known to us, well known to me personally, they need to introspect that they don't use their EWS beds. They full well know they don't. They can defend it publicly, but they full well know that they don't. Okay, they don't provide the treatment which they're supposed to under the contract of them even running the hospital or having the land for the hospital. They don't do it effectively. We've seen so many examples that we cover in the news where somebody comes out with a 10 lakh rupee bill, 15 lakh rupee bill, 20 lakh rupee bill. Okay, if you go into an ICU in Delhi, you're spending 60-70,000 rupees a day easy. 10 days, 6-7 lakhs gone. That's even beyond your medical coverage of 5 lakhs. So have we figured it out? No. Overall, Indian health is very cost effective compared to a lot of the developed countries. We have to just move families at the lowest end of society away from the decision that should I take my mother, father, child to the hospital, because if I can't afford the treatment, I'll have to sell my land or my plot. And if we're heading in the right direction, I think we have a long way to go, but it looks logical.
I agree with you. The change has been transformational, and that will be witnessed in the next ground report that I pull out for you. It is from Gorakhpur, from Uttar Pradesh. Meet Shahina Bano. She's 27 years old and a resident of Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh. She and her entire family have Ayushman card and can avail of the PM Jan Arogya Yojana. Her father was operated upon at the Fatima Hospital in Gorakhpur recently. Had it not been for the Ayushman card, she could not have managed to provide him medical treatment.
ये मेरा जो है ये जो प्रधानमंत्री से जो है लागू हुआ था उससे उन्हीं तो जो है मेरा ये कार्ड बना हुआ है ये बहुत साल पहले बना हुआ है जिसकी वजह से मुझे जो है अब मालूमात जब हुई है तब मैंने बनवाया इस कार्ड को और उससे मेरा जो है मेरी पूरी फैमिली का कार्ड बना हुआ है सबका कार्ड बना हुआ है जिसके जो मुझे बहुत फ़ायदा भी मिला इससे वैसे जो है जो भी इससे ये जो है बहुत फ़ायदेमंद है जिससे जो है गरीबों का इलाज हो जाता है और मेरा भी बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ है मेरे पापा का इससे जो है ये ऑपरेशन हुआ है और नहीं होता तो फिर मेरे पास कोई रास्ता नहीं था जिससे मैं ऑपरेशन करवा सकूँ मैं अपने पापा की जान बचा सकूँ मैं बिल्कुल भी नहीं बचा सकती थी क्योंकि मेरे पास कोई रास्ता नहीं था तो ये पीएम जी जो है प्रधानमंत्री जी का जो है बहुत बड़ा जो है ये है इससे जो है बहुत से गरीबों का भला होता है ताकि जो बहुत से गरीब मरने से जो बच जा रहे हैं उनका मुफ्त इलाज हो रहा है मेरा भी मुफ्त इलाज हुआ है मेरा भी जो है इस योजना के तहत कोई भी पैसा नहीं लगा है
There are many like Shahina Bano who have benefited immensely from Ayushman Bharat Yojana. Khursida Khatun, Nusrat Jahan, Kumari Nusrat Fatima, Mehboob Alam. They are all residents of Gorakhpur and they are among the thousands of beneficiaries, young and old, who have taken advantage of the scheme. Munawar Hussain Ansari was operated upon in July last year. The total cost of his treatment ran up to 1,20,000 rupees. Had it not been for his Ayushman card, he would not have been able to afford the treatment.
ये प्रधानमंत्री की बहुत बहुत वो आभारी हूँ मैं कि ऐसी स्कीम किसी सरकार ने नहीं लाया था इससे गरीबों का बहुत भला हुआ हम ही एक गरीब नहीं बहुत से गरीब पड़े हुए हैं कि उनका भला हो रहा है अब बहुत ऐसे पड़े कि खाने को नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी जो है वो उन्होंने आयुष्मान कार्ड बनवाया, उनका इलाज हो जा रहा है, वो उनको ज़िंदगी मिल जा रही है। ये प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ मैं, इन्होंने बहुत अच्छी स्कीम लाया है।
So there you have it. Rishi, I'm going to we speak about this disparity in the poorest of the poor and the richest of the richest. And you were just talking to me about, spending about 20-30 lakhs for a 10-day hospitalization charge and the treatment versus perhaps this individual, Munawar, got that treatment from a hospital in Jabalpur, this is Gorakhpur in Uttar Pradesh, for about 1,20,000 rupees under the Prime Minister Arogya Yojana. Now, should this be universal health? Should then be the prices and the costs of treatment be stabilized across all sectors, across all strata of the society?
Yeah, so my grandmother had congestive heart failure. She was treated in one of the good hospitals in Delhi. I was having to go and put 1 lakh rupees every day.
That's a lot of money.
She died. She passed away, unfortunately, but 1 lakh rupees every day. Okay, so it doesn't make a difference what you earn. Health at the extreme can become pernicious. You go to the United States and you try to get an MRI done. There are places when you claim insurance that the insurance company will be charged $20,000 for an MRI. $20,000, ladies and gentlemen, is 15 lakh rupees just for an MRI. Okay. So if those extremes can go crazy, but I'm not talking about those extremes. This is a very good example which is coming out from Gorakhpur. Okay. So this is not following my brief as an editor. My brief as an editor, my reporters was to go down and find out from people, are they using the scheme or is it a total ghapla? Because ghaplas, we have used to ghaplas in this country. Okay. That you go, ek nahi milega, theek hai, wo koi board laga hoga bahar, which will say so many EWS beds, which will be filled by some Neta's cousins. Is it reasonably authentic? If I do a dipstick test, okay, of my, when I go to the car mechanic and I do a dipstick test of my engine oil, what comes out, does it look reasonably like oil? Is it reasonably full? Or is it just black murky muck? So the dipstick test is telling you, and a great example from Gorakhpur, this is not a brief. I did not give a brief to my reporters that find Hindu families and Muslim families. But obviously, if you go and do an honest report, some will be Hindu families, some will be Muslim families. So this Gorakhpur happens to be Yogi Adityanath's constituency, where you've seen Muslim families who have benefited from this scheme. Okay, and I'm supposed to be told in this country that we are about to do Muslim genocide, that we are about to kill all the Muslims. This is what's happening in the country. But whether it comes to the housing which we have done, the taps that we have done, the UPI that we have done, the toilets that we have done, and now the Arogya scheme, you're seeing even people from the Muslim community who are not only benefiting, they're thanking Modi, that thank you. Okay, now, a lot of stories can be extricated from this, but my thumb rule is just, I'm not an expert on these matters. I'm neither an economist, not a doctor. I've just been sitting in the studio for a long, I've done 18,000 TV debates, and none of them are shouting, screaming ones. I'm doing a dipstick test on the ground, and the dipstick test is telling me that the reports, especially the raw feeds that we've got, you're watching the edited version, the raw feeds that we have got are saying that people are benefiting and those who have are happy. Does that solve everything? No. Does it prove that this is not some communal targeting? Good anecdotal evidence indicates that.
Yeah. Dr. Deep Goyal, across all strata of the society, all castes, all communities, this scheme has been launched and successfully so. Anecdotal evidence on your screens right now.
Yes, so I think first of all, let us understand, if we need to extend the benefit of this scheme to masses, we need to make our rural health infrastructure robust. And just to make a comment on Sunil Gargji's comment that 85% of the elements in this country can be treated in a secondary care center. They don't need to go to high-end hospitals in metro cities. Even in metro cities, there are secondary care hospitals which can take care of 85% of elements. So we, rather than bashing the private sector that they are expensive or they are spending, charge 1 lakh rupees a day in ICU. Hello. Why government centers were not doing their job? That's why private sectors are mushrooming.
No. Come on, Dr. Saab. Come on. Not nonsense. When I go to a hospital, why do I need my marble flooring and my granite
Rishabh ji,
counters.
please,
Come on, sir, this is all
please,
nonsense.
Let us be civil.
Sir, I'm nonsense
please,
is nonsense, sir, and I'm being very
please.
civil. If you're saying nonsense because you're defending the private sector,
even I can
when
use
they
those
loot the
adjectives,
people,
Rishabh ji,
and
but
I
that
come
is
from
not
a very
clear.
affluent
Therefore,
family, and I know the heads of all these hospitals personally, sir. And I come from a very affluent family. I can afford the 1 lakh rupees.
What
a
are
day.
you trying to say, sir? What are you
I am trying to say that when you are running,
down all
when
the
you
private
want to
hospitals
go build
which
hospitals
are
that look like
responsible
5-star
for looking
hotels,
after
and then
you,
you charge people a lakh a day,
which is responsible
let's
for
not
getting the
let's not
health-
say
what
that
the
is
health
not telling the truth as well, sir. I'm sorry. You are also leading the
course that
people
is
of
the
the
truth,
watching
sir.
the broadcast up the garden path. I won't let you do it. I'm sorry. No.
Negative role in
I'm
this,
not
sir.
bashing the private
The
sector, sir,
doctors are
please.
just-
That's nonsense. But when private sector does abuse, that has to be called out.
I again request you not to use these kind of phrases, please.
I can use the phrase nonsense when somebody speaks nonsense. Absolutely, I can, sir.
No,
Absolutely, I can. You're
I'm
speaking
saying you are
nonsense
speaking nonsense
in defense
distorting the
of
facts.
loot, which is
Please,
not good.
let's not
When
go
people
there.
come to
Let's-
me,
let's
and we have
focus
done
on
so
the
many
debate,
stories where people are charged lakhs of rupees for syringes. Okay, those we've done all those stories, sir. So please, I'm calling out a fact. When you go to hospitals and you're expecting marble flooring and granite countertops and butter chicken from your family members, of course it's going to cost a lot of money. But let's not assume that extra expenses don't happen and that some doctors don't do extra tests. Please, let's not assume that. Nonsense. And sir, I'm sorry. You've been doing your profession for a long time. I've been doing this profession for a long time, sir. I can call a spade even if you can't.
Okay, Yogendra Kapoor, I'm going to come to you and about this very sensitive issue. And we're talking about providing healthcare at the same cost across the country, across all the strata of the society. And still, of course, there are private hospitals, as has been the discussion that has been had, that they are going to charge you an enormous amount for the quality, have a 5-star sort of environment. And that's for you to decide if you want to opt for that. But in the similar setup, there is a provision of beds of certain facilities that have to be provided for the economically weaker sections also. Should there be stress given on all these private hospitals that charge a bomb for every single treatment, every single medicine, every single visit that an individual has to go and pay for, can also then keep aside that amount of fund to provide for the economically weaker sections, which is not happening on the ground?
I would say that
Yogendra, I will request you there's an audio issue. I'm going to pose this question to Sunil while we try to figure Yogendra's issue. Sunil, the same question to you. Should there be parity? Forget about the parity. There are these hospitals that look like 5 stars. Should the economically weaker sections also be included with the quota that the government then asks the hospitals to cater to?
Why not? Then we should have a regulation for these private hospitals. And where Deepji, he was right, very much right, Deep Goyalji, when he said the government should have the wellness center. And yesterday itself, the Health Minister Mansukh Madwadia has said that we have completed the target of 1.5 lakh wellness center. But the moot question is how they are being managed. Why the general people, the public are not going to these wellness centers and see what is happening in the government hospitals? Why a person is forced to the private hospital? Because he's not getting a good care in the public hospital. Only then he's going. So the moot question is, coming to your question, of course government should regulate the private hospital also, and they should also provide the reasonable the health at the reasonable prices. And
but unfortunately, these private hospitals and the administration and management does not look at that way, because they can't extract crores and crores of money from these poor, economically weaker sections.
Just another point. You see the rates of medicines itself. A company making a generic medicine under the same name and the company making the medicine in the brand name, there is a difference. There are 10 times prices are there. Same company having the same salt and the generic name and then the brand name, 10 times prices. Government has to regulate these medicine as well as these hospital expenditures.
Okay, all right. Regulation is the need of the hour. Why has it not been done so? We'll talk about this. Let's quickly also take a look at the next ground report. This has been filed from a very small village in Charkhi Dadri. This is in Haryana.
Jabalpur is not a small town.
मैं चरखी दादरी प्रेमनगर वार्ड नंबर 3 का निवासी हूँ। मेरे यहाँ अस्थमा और सांस की टेस्ट में तकलीफ थी। उस इलाज के तहत मैं यहाँ पे एडमिट हुआ हूँ। मैंने यहाँ पहले भी ट्रीटमेंट लिया था 6-7 महीने के बाद, तो यहाँ के स्टाफ की सर्विस बढ़िया थी जी। उसी मकसद से मैं दोबारा फिर यहाँ एडमिट हुआ। तो जो भी इलाज मेरा इसके अंतर्गत चल रहा है उसमें मेरे को रिलीफ है। यहाँ सुबह इजाज़ी चाहे पानी की, खाने की, दवाइयों की न मेरे से कोई एक्स्ट्रा चार्ज लिया गया है। टाइम पे नर्स, टाइम पे डॉक्टर वगैरह सारा ट्रीटमेंट अच्छी प्रकार से करें। हाँ, मैं आयुष्मान कार्ड से हूँ सर। योजना आयुष्मान है जी, अच्छी है, लेकिन जो भी इलाज की सहूलियत है, इलाज का जो फंड है, मरीज को कहीं भी करवाने की सुविधा होनी चाहिए। उसके अंतर्गत जो सेटिस्फाई मरीज तो उसके कहा मैं इसे संतुष्ट हूँ और मेरा टोटल इलाज कंप्लीट हुआ।
मेरे जी लकड़ा लकड़िया था, नमूनिया हो गया, बुखार, उससे ठंड मिल गई सारा शरीर में। उससे ये आधा फर्क है और ठंड कम लग गए थे, छाती रुक गया, सांस फूल गया। ये
इस कार्ड के थ्रू सब फ्री।
लगभग पिछले 3 महीने से आयुष्मान भारत जो योजना है इसके अंतर्गत इलाज शुरू हो रखा है। तो पिछले 3 महीनों में हम करीब 100 से भी ज़्यादा मरीजों का इलाज मुफ्त कर चुके हैं। और ये सरकार की बहुत अच्छी योजना है। जो गरीब लोग हैं उनका मुफ्त में प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स में इलाज हो रहा है। तो ये सरकार की मतलब काफ़ी सराहनीय योजना है और लोग उसका पूरा फ़ायदा उठाएं। लगभग सभी बीमारियां इसमें कवर होती हैं आयुष्मान भारत में। और ज़्यादातर जो मरीज हैं यहाँ पर डेंगू हो गया, बुखार हो गया, सांस की बीमारी हो गई जैसे COPD, अस्थमा, इनके मरीज ज़्यादा आते हैं। और ऑपरेशन के लिए भी काफ़ी मरीज आते हैं, जैसे कि पित्त की थैली में पथरी हो गई, गुर्दे की पथरी हो गई, बच्चेदानी का ऑपरेशन हो गया, हर्निया हो गया, अपेंडिक्स हो गया। ये सभी ऑपरेशन मुफ्त में किया जाता है आयुष्मान भारत योजना के अंतर्गत। आयुष्मान कार्ड अगर ना हो तो मरीज का ये मान लो आप लगभग दिन का 3 से 4 हज़ार रुपये का खर्चा हो जाता है।
So this is interesting to note because in Charkhi Dadri, very small region, very small village in Haryana, there are 8 of such hospitals, and they are all, mind you, private hospitals that have been earmarked to provide treatment and medicines to the patients who come, who are the beneficiaries of this scheme. So that's interesting to note because that has been the trend in all the case studies that we have done, whether it is from Jammu, whether it is from Uttar Pradesh, whether it is from Madhya Pradesh, Mumbai, across all states. Rishabh.
Yeah, you know the thing is, yeah, so I work in a private industry. This is a private news channel. This is not Doordarshan. Okay. Do we want private sector regulation everywhere? Do I want regulated private media? Absolutely not. Is more regulation the answer? No. In the end, market forces have to be the answer. So yes, there are going to be people who want to go to a hospital which has the marble flooring and the very fancy cafeteria, okay, and is conveniently in the heart of South Delhi, and who will be able to pay for it. That's not the category of people we're discussing here. It's honestly not me. I have health insurance. I can afford to pay for it. I pay for it. I can afford to pay for my gas. I pay for my gas. There's no reason for me to take subsidized gas. The point is, and I keep repeating this, this is not a solution. We are not suggesting that India's problems are solved. My essence as an editor is only this much, that we have gone to locations, mostly which are in the private sector, across the country, and some in bigger towns, some in smaller places, and we have done a dipstick test. In the dipstick test, have we found mostly crud and rust and junk, or have we found mostly positive, good reports? And we are finding mostly positive, good reports. And I have done this long enough to tell you that in most schemes, you would go, and once you just open the cover a little bit, you would find junk underneath. So this is heading in the right direction. In principle, it makes sense. The challenge is humongous. I've told you what's happening with the NHS right now, and the NHS is staffed by 25% Indian doctors and nurses. So how do we, yes, keep the best talent in India? How do we encourage them to operate in rural areas? How do we make these rural private clinics and hospitals more economically viable? How do we simultaneously improve the upgrade of our public healthcare system? I have spent a large part of my telecast also bashing public healthcare. But the public healthcare is the backbone of healthcare. You remove all those hospitals, then what's going to happen? A lot of these doctors who are sent on mandatory time spent in rural areas, after a point don't want to. They want to come and work in the big city hospitals. Some want to go and work in the UAE and work in England and go abroad. How many friends of mine, and I come from, again, from privilege. Most of my friends who are doctors, who came from my school, are living in New York, are living in London. Okay, because once you have a MBBS, getting citizenship abroad becomes a lot easier because you're a critical industry. So how do I keep them, retain them here? These are large questions that need to answer. This is not the subject of conversation. Subject of the conversation is, on this scheme, we've done a dipstick test, and have we found all rot? No, we found some good reports.
Yeah.
That's a great start.
Absolutely. Dr. Deep Goyal, quick comment from you. And I'm talking about the fair assessment, in being able to go through reports after reports, case studies after case studies. It's the length and breadth of the country that we've covered. My reporters have been sent. They have taken about 5 to 7 days to collate all this data. It's a fresh start. It's a new start. It's a start for a progressive, healthy India.
We both are saying the same thing, Medha. This is what I've been saying. This is a game changer. But unfortunately, what we need to also understand, and I would request Rishabh to understand this point, that as you very rightly said, that private sector is also our backbone. You know, all the technology and the best infrastructure, unfortunately, has been brought to this country by private sector. And we need to make our government sector robust, which is happening now. You see the current dispensation has given a mandate that we must have a medical college in every district. We must have AIMS every 100 kilometers or what, I don't remember exactly what is the guideline. But the new AIMS which are opening up are of very good standard, and they are catering to the people, not only to the immediate neighbors, but to the surrounding localities.
Yes.
So this is the right direction, absolutely no doubt about it.
Yeah, and if you're going to have AIMS, not just in Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, all the cosmopolitan cities, but in the deep interiors of our country, perhaps we'll have the capacity to retain our doctors in a Kanpur and in maybe in an Assam or Guwahati or wherever these new AIMS are getting open. Yes, absolutely. I'm going to also get a quick word from Yogendra. Like I said, a progressive, healthy India is the basis of building the Vishwaguru dream of India that Prime Minister envisages.
Absolutely, Megha. We need to understand that at the end of the day, both the public health system as well as the private sector, they have to coexist. If at all we have to make India as a medical hub, then private sector needs to prosper and provide quality services.
Yeah.
As I foresee that in the coming years, we will see that the people from around the world traveling to India for costly treatments, because ultimately it affects everyone's pocket. I also feel that the cost of medical treatment is increasing on a year-on-year basis. And I find that the scheme, Arogya scheme of the government, it plays a very, very important role in bridging the gap in terms of providing the services to those people who cannot afford those services. And it's very necessary that the effectiveness and efficiency of this scheme needs to improve pretty fast, because at the end of the day, any saving in the hands of a poor people or a lower middle class, it helps in higher disposable income in their hands, which helps the economy in terms of consumption and savings.
Yeah, absolutely right. It also has a direct bearing on a household's income and then the GDP of the country as well. Because if you are going to have unhealthy people from all stratas of the society, particularly the rural areas, particularly the poorer sections, it is going to have a direct impact on the job market, on how the economy runs. You're absolutely right. Sunil Garg, a last point from you before I wrap this up.
Absolutely. We are on the right path, right direction, no doubt about it. But my moot question again is, we have to increase the budget allocation for this scheme also, at least to 25,000 crore, and we can do it. The FM has
we are a country of 1.4 crore people, sir. And as has been made the comparisons, whether with the United States of America or with the UK, the National Health.
We should not compare it. Rather, I will request the Honorable Prime Minister.
So a humongous task that has been successfully able to be enrolled now. and is going to move on into its next phase, and then the next, and then the next, till we achieve perfection, so that there is parity. And there is this disparity of one individual going and shelling out 10 lakh rupees for the same operation that is then being done for a 1.5 lakh rupees is also going to be narrowed down, and that should be the collective goal of the government and the private institutes that are functioning in our country. On that note, I will have to slip into a short break. I thank my panelists for an important, insightful discussion in the matter. A fundamental, important right for the people of the country, right to health, and the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana under Ayushman Bharat is giving the people just that. On the other side of the break is episode number 7. We talk about Har Ghar Jal, Har Nal Jal. But has the tap water, clean tap water, reached every single household in the rural India? We'll take a look after this short break.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.